Ole Miss Rebels. As Mississippi's flagship university, we dig deeper, see farther, work harder. We pioneered human organ transplants. We helped prove Einstein's theory of gravitational waves. We are conducting life-changing research that solves the problems of today. We are Ole Miss, transforming lives and the world.
Hey, welcome to the POMcast with Stephen Willis. We're going to start in a few minutes, but I want to tell you to hit up our social sites, retweet, share, comment, like, do all of that stuff. It can only help us out and it'll make the show even better. But we're getting ready to give you a lot of good Ole Miss information, and I just thought I would tell you that because the POMcast is starting. Well, it's starting right now. Wait, no, that's a little early. It is starting right about now. All right, good morning on this Monday morning. We got a jam-packed show today, but first, before we get started, I want to tell you about Travel and Cruise World. You can give them a call at 1-800-330-7461. Again, that is 1-800-330-7461. What I want it to do is everybody needs a vacation right now. This has been going on for a year and a half. Everybody needs a vacation. And you can take this resource. Remember, the parks pay these guys. So if you're going to go to Disney, you can look them up and they can be an expert on the ground here to determine mask rules at the beach or at businesses or whatever's going on, and it won't ruin your vacation. So give them a call, 1-800-330-7461. Also, go to bookatailgate.com. Again, bookatailgate.com. That is Take It to the Grove tailgating and event service, and you can set up a tailgate whenever they run out. You can have your tent in a specific location. You can have them store your tailgating materials. You can rent stuff from them. You can have a TV at the tent. You can get a second tent if there's going to be more people coming that day. And best of all, they'll even pick up your catering for you from certain locations. So give them a look at www.bookatailgate.com. Again, that is bookatailgate.com, 662-701-1177, and you'll be happy you did. They just do really great stuff. I'm really happy that they are joining us with what's going on. Also, go to La Terrain Watches, la-terrain.com, and order a watch. Use promo code POMcast, P-O-M-C-A-S-T, and you'll get 10% off of the watch of your choice. So that's another avenue to have. How you doing, Hottie Toddy 123? You're absolutely right. The Roll Tears Roll is something we are looking forward to in about, 6 days-ish. But that should be a lot of fun. I'm Stephen Willis. I'm the host of the POMcast, and I do want to tell you, you can catch us on Twitter at the Stephen Willis or at Ole Positively. You can watch us on Facebook at facebook.com/POMcast or the Facebook group Positively Ole Miss. You can catch us at YouTube at Positively Ole Miss. Subscribe, hit the bell. You'll not only know that we're streaming, you'll know what we're streaming about. And also, if you're watching, no matter what you're doing watching it, sign up for them and get the notifications. They've got bar none the best notification system that is out there. So use that to, wherever you're going to watch it, you'll have that notification in the future. And we're also on Twitch at Positively Ole Miss, all one word, all lowercase. Hottie Toddy 123 is on Twitch. I can see that from his comment, and of course the chat is open today. You might not be able to see it, but I can see it. So if you want to communicate with the show, do so, and I'll reply if I can. Also on audio, you can catch us on Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Spotify, iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, Pandora, Amazon Music, and Audible. That's a lot of audio things. But if we're not on a podcast that you want to listen to and you want us to be there, let us know. Drop us a comment and say, hey, go to this podcast app. We want to do that. Now, we will try to get the podcast on your app of choice. We're already pretty much everywhere, but, there might be some places that we are not. So see below the Facebook groups where you can see the show. Swayze Crazies at Ole Miss. Fall ball is about to start. The podcast is up. So you can check those guys out. They post in our Facebook group from time to time, and we are appreciative of them. But Chad does a fantastic job as basically the expert when it comes to Ole Miss baseball. There's really nobody nowhere else needing to follow them. So subscribe to his podcast. I think he's about to launch an Ole Miss baseball only page. And you can donate to that, or you can join that, and however that is set up, that'll be pretty cool to see. So Ole Miss baseball only. I'm looking forward to seeing that. So the title of this episode is Know Thy Enemy. And there's several things that we need to know going into this game. First of all, this is not the Alabama of 2019 or 2020. It just isn't. It's a different coach. They do different things. They want to attack you different ways. This is not that team. That doesn't mean this is a bad team. There's still 4 and 5 stars all over the field and different ways for them to attack you. And so whenever we say this team is not 2019 and 2020, it's not denigrating Alabama. It's just pointing out that this year's team is different. And we don't know, but it might be a little bit lesser. The only real competition that they had was Florida, and they jumped on them early and was able to eke out a victory. Southern Miss, I get they scored 63. They had 2 kickoff returns, so it would have been 49, but I get that they scored 63. Auburn scored 60 on Akron. Auburn scored 60 on Alabama State. How's Auburn doing today? Honestly. They won the game over Georgia State, but barely. I mean, it took the SEC giving them yet another game. They were given a game against Arkansas last year. They were given a game against Ole Miss last year, and now Georgia State this year. What is going on there? That's a story for another day, but that ball absolutely touched the ground. The 4th down play should never happen from where it happened. It just shouldn't. So, I mean, that's just the real talk when it comes to Alabama. It is what it is. All right. So we will look. Bryce Young is a heck of a quarterback. He's thrown for 1,100 yards. He's got 15 touchdowns and 1 pick. And the 1 pick that he had hit the receiver in the hand and popped it up to defensive back. Great quarterback. Young quarterback. Great quarterback. Brian Robinson has 208 yards rushing. Jace McClellan 163. Roydell Williams 139 and Trey Sanders 83. They're an okay team as well. I mean, running the ball. Whenever you look at what they do, they're scoring offensively 46 points a game, which is 4th in the country. Ole Miss is 1st in that category. And they're giving up 17.5, which is 27th. And I think Ole Miss is giving up 20, which is like 50th. So points-wise, it's pretty close. It's worth remembering that Alabama has played Florida, and the rest of their schedules would be kind of synonymous. Miami and Louisville would be about the same. Austin Peay and Mercer would be about the same. Tulane and Southern Miss would be about the same, although I think Tulane would beat Southern by probably 3 touchdowns. But you understand that. Alabama has played Florida. Ole Miss has not played that team yet. So when you look at these stats, take that into account. Now, the player that is pretty much the game breaker is Jamison Williams. He's got 12 catches for 299 yards. He's averaging 24.9 per catch. He's got 3 touchdowns. He's got 4 or 5 touchdowns this year of over 85 yards. Let that sink in. Kickoff return and receiving, he's got 4 or 5 touchdowns of over 85 yards. He's a threat. He reminds me, just watching him play, I don't know if they do it, but he looks a lot like Mike Wallace out there. I mean, he's an electrically fast guy. We have a kickoff guy, by the way, that has struggled to kick the ball into the end zone, which will put this in play. So if there's any place where Alabama can get an edge with their superior talent, because they do have superior talent. I think Ole Miss has a superior scheme on both sides of the ball, but Alabama has 4 and 5 stars everywhere, is the kickoff return game for Alabama. They need to find a way to not kick it to Jamison Williams, period. Don't even give a chance. If you have to kick it out of bounds and let them start at the 35 every time, do that. Because this kid is dangerous. And he has proven that over 4 games this season. We're a third of the way through Alabama's season, and he has been the explosive aspect of their offense through receiving or kickoff returns. This is where the explosion happens, is on that kickoff return. Do not kick it to Jamison Williams. Hotty Toddy 1, 2, 3. I don't know why they chose Georgia and Arkansas. I think it was because the AP poll that they use did such a massive jump and moved Arkansas into the top 10, so it's a 2-8 game as opposed to whatever it should be. I don't know. I mean, Georgia and Arkansas, that's probably a good game. Ole Miss and Alabama. I mean, we've got SEC Nation, so we're going to get the coverage that you would get for game day. If Ole Miss wins this game, though, they might have game day next week regardless. And if Ole Miss and Arkansas win, they will absolutely have game day next week regardless. So I don't know 100% what happened there, but they also could see, even though with the rankings and everything's going on, right now Georgia's the best team in the country. They might have a 2 by their name, but they're the best team in the country. So we'll see. I want to see JoJo Earl play for Alabama too. I'm real curious about him. But Alabama on kickoff returns, we were just talking about that. Jamison Williams, 5 returns, 228 yards, 45.6 yard average. Do not kick him the ball. Do not let them return it. This isn't a slight on Caden Costa. Do not put it in the field of play. He's a weapon. You don't return 40% of your touchdown or returns for touchdowns without being a weapon. Alabama does have a field goal kicker, so you can't really count on that weakness that has been a staple of the Alabama teams over the years. So this is a good team. This is a solid top 5 team. I'm going to say Georgia's the top team in the country. I've said that all year. But Alabama's right there. This is a good team. And you can see our lines that we're going to go over later. Ole Miss is around a 2-touchdown underdog. I get it. Does that mean Ole Miss can beat them or can't beat them? No, that does not mean that at all. But that does mean that that's in a perfect location. You don't want people to just flood on Ole Miss, and you don't want people to just flood on Alabama. So they're going to try and even it up. So 14 points is about what you would expect. But Alabama has legit players on the offensive side of the ball, and in the special teams, game breakers that can absolutely turn the game on its head in a second. Now, when I say that this offense looks like Jim McElwain, which it does, Bill O'Brien looks like the Jim McElwain offense. It looks like a shotgun version of the old Jim McElwain offense. Morning, Trent. Hope you're doing well. But this looks like the Jim McElwain offense. Now, that doesn't mean this offense can't be good. It means that the stuff that we are used to, the Norm Chow stuff of matchups that Steve Sarkisian and Lane Kiffin have been so good at for the last 6 years at Alabama, don't really happen anymore. So it's going to look more, antiseptic offensively. But you can see explosive. They got players everywhere. They could line up tomorrow. They can literally put in this week the triple offense, the Paul Johnson triple option offense, and be a threat in it on Saturday because their athletes are that good. So don't in any way construe what I'm saying. Now, saying all of that, this is a team that Ole Miss can beat. Because every team is a team that Ole Miss can beat. It isn't looking down on anybody to say that Ole Miss can win the game. It is just stating the obvious. So there's a level of confidence, especially within the fan base, that you need to have going into this game. You need to understand that there are dangerous players on the other side of the ball. You do not need to play with an over-deference to the dangerous players on the other side of the ball. You need to play your game. You need to impose your will, so to speak, against Alabama. You want the game to look like one of your games. You don't want it to look like one of Alabama game. If Alabama has the superior athletes and the game is played the way they want to play it, which I anticipate Alabama slowing this game down. Think about that level of respect to try and keep Matt Corral and that offense off the field. That's a smart play. Nick Saban's a smart coach. And I don't see them going in there and like heavyweight trying just trade punches over and over and over again. It's smart coaches to win games means putting your team in the best chance to win. Alabama's not in this position often. So I expect things to slow down a little bit out there to keep Matt Corral off the field. So it's going to be imperative on the defense to get the Alabama offense off the field, and not many teams have been able to do that. Now, have they looked great? No, not at all. This team looks absolutely beatable, as Trent the Sip says. When it comes to talent, they are the more talented, but they look beatable to me. And he also said, hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. I think Alabama is going to work hard. I think Nick Saban is scared to death right now. Absolutely. Because there's a chance that you can just walk out on the field and Alabama might not be able to stop Ole Miss. And then can Alabama's offense, which has been terrific, match blow for blow? Because this offense is a step or two below what it has been over the last couple of years. There's no Mac Jones coming out of that tunnel. There's no Tua Tagovailoa coming out of that tunnel. Those group of wide receivers aren't coming out of that tunnel. But I expect somebody like Jaleel Billingsley. I expect Jamison Williams. I expect John Mechie to be a threat. Absolutely. They can take over this game. This is one of those weird games to where if you look at it, if Ole Miss is, let's say, a little bit sloppy, you can see where Alabama beats them by 3 or 4 touchdowns. That's completely plausible. On the other side, if Ole Miss is red hot and Alabama is not where they need to be, you can see Ole Miss winning by 3 or 4 touchdowns. You can see this game being somewhere in the middle. The unknown of this game is absolutely fascinating, and it's part of what's going to make this really fun. So that has been the Know Thy Enemy section of the podcast today, the show today. Tune into that. Now, before we go into break, I do want to tell you real quick. They want to sell out the Arkansas game. And I do believe that Arkansas game is going to be a sellout. Those tickets are going to get sold. And it's up to the Ole Miss fan base to whether or not those tickets are bought by Arkansas fans or Ole Miss fans. You're looking at 5,000 to 10,000 seats, probably 5,000 because they were going to have 55 in the stadium. It would go up for the first SEC opponent, so they probably would sell 57 or 58. And let's see real quick. Oh, I know what the problem is. Just a second. There we go. Thing didn't want to show up. So, the tickets are going to get bought. It's going to be a sellout. It's going to happen. Arkansas is a very good team. They do a lot of stuff. Remember, Kendall Briles is the coach up there. D'Eriq King is still famous because of Kendall Briles and what he did at Houston 4 years ago. That guy made D'Eriq King a decent amount of money in college. And then COVID, he got the extra year, yada, yada, yada. But with the Arkansas game and Ole Miss game, it's going to be two mirrors playing on both sides of the ball. I'm looking forward to see them run the ball. I'm looking forward to see what that looks like. I think it's going to look similarly to what the other side looks like, except for the fact that the better passer in the game is going to be Matt Corral. So that threat of the passing game is going to affect the outcome of the game. So, yes, guy says, Bama hate week started yesterday. It's 5 days and the battle begins. Make or break the season this Saturday. We will be first or first loser after Saturday, in my opinion. I don't know if it's a make or break thing, guy. I do think that game is unbelievably important because if Ole Miss wins that game, if we talk about that, if Ole Miss wins that game, Ole Miss is in a position they haven't been in since 2014. Absolutely. Will they be able to add new seats? 80,000 seats in the future. Good things are going to happen at Ole Miss. Hotty toddy. Chris Colvin with that question. Well, right now TV is calling the shot, so it is more of a chance that they do a thing where the whole stadium becomes an all-seater with chairbacks like an NFL stadium, and it drops down to like 55,000. They're not going to expand attendance because so many people are staying home and attendance has kind of become a hard thing. So you're going to see more premium areas, more experience type things. But I don't think the days of just adding seats to add seats are going to happen anymore. I think those days are gone. We are going to take a short break. We are going to take a short break, and when we come back, we will a little bit talk about the lines that are due this week in the Alabama game. There's so many great games this weekend. This is a little bit of where Vegas is starting out. So we'll do that in a couple of minutes. So stick around. All right, welcome back to the podcast. I'm your host, Stephen Willis. Today we have gone over the Know Thy Enemy section of the show. And we talked a little bit about the Arkansas game, the first SEC home game that will happen the week after Alabama, but it's all about Alabama right now. One of the things that we need to look at is the betting lines. So current week 5 lines, South Carolina is a 7.5 point favorite. They opened at 9 over Troy. Yeah, the Troy Trojans, the mighty Trojans. I need to bring something up real quick. I accidentally closed that out because I'm not that smart. So let's see. But it's a game. South Carolina looks better defensively, and you would think they would look good defensively, because essentially Will Muschamp did a great job of recruiting them defensively over the years. So that's what that looks like. And you have Troy coming in. Troy has beat some people this year, but they're not the dangerous team that we have come accustomed to really enjoying over the years. So Bama, 14.5 point favorite over Ole Miss at home. The line has come down from 17.5. Some places had that line starting up as high as 20, but it's down to 14.5 now. This is going to be a fun game. I'm looking forward to what can happen. This is a game that Alabama could win through big plays. I'm worried about Jamison Williams. I talked about that at the beginning and what he can do. Bryce Young played a heck of a game against Southern Miss. But Southern Miss scored the most points they've scored all year against Alabama's defense. Now, some of that and a lot of that is Ty Keys. A lot of that is Ty Keys. Great player. True freshman. He's going to be a guy. Southern Miss is going to be a good team in 3 years. But right now, they're not quite there. Let's see. Hottie Toddy 123 says, I put $600 on Arkansas money line this past weekend, and that worked out well. Tempted to do it again this weekend. I don't know if I would do that. Hottie Toddy 123. Georgia is probably the best team in the country. They can absolutely do something. I would not bet against Georgia in a money line situation for that game. The points wise now, I might take the points on that. Believe in Georgia. Corey Burton coming on the podcast today. Bama defense is in trouble. Can they contain the Rebel offense? I don't know. That's going to be the whole story. And then you got the whole thing with the Ole Miss defense and the Alabama offense. And JT Daniels absolutely against Vanderbilt came out there and sharp. This will be Georgia's second game. And let's not forget, because they lined up against Clemson. So they have experience with what is going on. This will be their second game that is actually a big game. In Arkansas, I expect a war out there. And speaking of which, Georgia 18.5 point favorite. It opened at 18, so the line is actually going up. So that's about a half point going up. The game's at Georgia. Mizzou 3-point favorite at home against Tennessee. They basically just get home field. I don't have a read on this game. Tennessee looked good. They went away in the second half. Remember, I told you that the key to defeating Florida are the stretch plays, to attack deep. They kind of quit doing that after they hit the long touchdown. So that'll be interesting. Yeah, no one can block Jordan Davis. Absolutely. I mean, that dude's a manimal. Kentucky and Florida. Florida's an 8-point favorite. It opened at 8. The game's at Kentucky. A couple of years ago, it came out and Kentucky beat Florida and ruined my favorite joke, which my favorite joke was the Atlantic will defeat Florida before Kentucky will. So that ruined that joke, and that was my favorite joke for like 30 years growing up. Vanderbilt, yes. Vanderbilt is a 14-point favorite hosting UConn. And I don't know if I am ready to live in a world where Vandy's a 2-touchdown favorite against anybody. I mean, this is a team that lost to East Tennessee State. Now, UConn is maybe the worst Division I football program in the history of Division I football programs. But it's a lot of points for Vandy. I mean, I don't know. I just don't know. LSU's a 4-point favorite hosting Auburn. Game's in Baton Rouge, obviously. It's a game where at 2 o'clock on Friday, I would have said, oh, yeah, Auburn's going to win this game easily. And then they go out and lay an egg really bad against Georgia State. They exposed the blueprint to expose them. They needed help to win the game. And now LSU coming in, and they're starting to spread their ball around. You got Keyshawn Boutte. And you got all those other freshman wide receivers and a couple of backs that are starting to emerge as well. So I'm interested to see that. Texas A&M and Mississippi State at Texas A&M. A&M is a 9.5-point favorite, up from 8. And it's a game that I expect a little bit to be dished out, honestly. They're going to be upset. I do not trust Calzada. It'll be a low-scoring game. So whatever it is, take the under on that one. And the OU game on there, I did not block that out, so ignore that. So I'm excited. I'm just absolutely excited about what's going on, and am just ready for everything to get started. Can this game week actually happen? Okay, Georgia and Arkansas host a game day. SEC Nations in Tuscaloosa for Ole Miss and Alabama. You got Georgia and Florida. playing this weekend. So there's 3 major games across the conference, and that's not even touching LSU Auburn, which is a traditional game inside the conference. I thought today I was going to end up giving you time back. That's not something that I was able to do. So thank you very much for tuning in. Tune in tonight for Beast of the East with Corey Burton and Craig Ladd, talking all about the Eastern Division of football. Bet that Kentucky-Florida game comes up tonight. And tomorrow, Best of the West. And I'm also going to be recording Talking Ball with Bill Flowers and the Biscuits and SEC preview. Wednesday, a supersized preview that I'm thinking about live streaming of Ole Miss and Alabama with Stacey Blackwood and Jake Thomas coming in to talk the Tide. So I may do that on Wednesday night, SEC After Dark. And then Thursday we get into the POMcast, Friday the POMcast, Saturday Let's Do This, Sunday review show. So we do all the stuff that we do at Willis Digital Media. Thank you very much for tuning in. And as always, hotty toddy.